Hello, my name is Dave.
Hi, Dave. Were you high, Dave?
I'm not currently high.
You want to be high.
A little wired maybe, but you know. The Coke I'm currently doing comes in a 32-ounce glass, not so much in the lines anymore. We were joking around earlier. Kat was kind enough to bring over a 3-pound bag of Caribou coffee. Yeah, which we might auction off, I don't know. But I was laughing about the idea of, now I Jones from product from Columbia, it's just now that it's coffee and beans and such as opposed to, white lines. Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
So Juan Valdez is your supplier now.
Yeah, Juan Valdez is totally my pleasure. And so, I don't know how I'm going to transition into you with that. That's Barry, he might look high.
You can transition one way or another.
Yeah. And if that doesn't warn you, nothing will. I'm going to try to adjust this one more time.
That's because you're wanting to say, oh, God.
Oh God, it's going to be one of those nights, and I totally look forward to it. Our next contestant, as I like to say, is the wonderful Barry Dunn. I say wonderful for a number of reasons. First of all, he is actually quite good at this. For the number of times he's gotten up on stage and we're like, hey, before we throw our next actual performer on, why don't you get up there and kill 5 minutes? And he'd get up there, kill 5 minutes, and the audience would just roll. And so we said, congratulations, whether you know it or not, you're in. And he's like, in what? Just come here. Yeah, which is kind of risky for me because he hasn't been known to go healed from time to time, and he's been kind enough not to shoot me yet. But it's early in the evening, so you never know. But also, Barry is the business manager for Dominicat Clothing, and there's one great story that kind of like defines Barry in my mind, and that is we did a art fashion show called Dreaming. And Barry was like, hey, we're going to be in the fashion show and doing this. We were wondering if we could like set up a small table, and we've got some leather collars and wristbands and such that we want to sell. So would that be cool? And we're like, yeah, we'll work out a percentage. He's like, no, it's all for charity. Percentage, nothing, go ahead, And I think you sold, I don't know, like 15 of those, or 10 or something, a bunch.
We sold a bunch. The number total was $150.
Yeah, so he basically sold $150 worth of his product on behalf of the charity that we were supporting. And that right there kind of instantly made me a Barry Dunn fan. Not like I'm buttering you guys up for him or anything. And so with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you the wonderful Barry Dunn.
I have to get situated here. I'm actually not really accustomed to being on stage. So first of all, technical stuff, everybody hear me, I'm good, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
Just don't forget the internet.
Hi, internets. You guys are really nothing but cats and porn, let's face it. So, I got my original iPad here, so I kind of need to sort through that. It's always a little bit tough when somebody gives you a great introduction and they say nice things about you, and then you have to live up to them. So that's always kind of tough. That's going to be a little bit there. I know, thanks. This is why I hate you people. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, as Dave said, I am the business manager for Dominicat Clothing and Design, and we sponsor this show. We came out to a show a while back during February. I believe was the first show that I ever saw, and people were talking about their takes on love, their failed relationships, and the highlight of that show is, for those of you who know Mikey Taylor, I got to see him fully clad in a diaper and angel wings, and let me tell you that,
Crocs.
and Crocs, and that is an image that is forever burned into my mind. And from this day, I fucking hate Valentine's Day. You probably set me asking my girlfriend to marry her years back, so thank you for that. But first of all, I just wanted to thank the Sam Red Spoken Word. These guys are doing something that is very cool in Omaha. They're really working to enhance the scene here in Omaha, to make it different, to make it diverse, to make it so Omaha is a stop and not a flyover. You know what I mean? So, but with that being said, I am the business manager for Dominicat Clothing Design, and I am going to shamelessly plug my company because they gave me time and 2 working mics, and you guys are sitting down. So, just to make a note of certain things, we have some events. We actually got a lot of events coming up this week. And the first event that we have is on Wednesday night at the House of Loom. It's our monthly event. It's called Noir. And they gave us Halloween. It's no cover, so come out, get dressed up, get drunk, hang out with some scary goth kids and other people costumed out. So it'll be a great time. Also, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of this month at the Holiday Inn Convention Event Center, 72nd and Grover. We're going to have a booth at NebraskaCon, so come out there, check out our stuff. And then on November 3rd, we have Gothique, the 9th annual Goth Ball, the Slowdown. We're going to be releasing our 2013 collection, and we're also going to have a surprise. We'll also have some items for sale. So if you guys this shows you how seasoned I am of a performer and how much of a plugging guy that I am. By the way, Dominicat Clothing Design, we're a subculture clothing company, which means we cater to all this stuff. But you won't see us in Vogue or something at the Buckle. We do all goth, industrial, steampunk, cosplay stuff. None of the mainstream stuff. So we'll have items for sale for that. So come out and support these events, support us, and that's pretty much me for shamelessly plugging. Since I am a business manager for a company and I do work with other people, I have to do the notorious disclaimer. All right. Anything I say up here tonight does not reflect Dominicat LLC. It's my business partner, the designers, or the models that work for it. Anything that comes out of my mouth tonight is purely my opinion. If you have a problem, come up to me and talk to me after the show. I'm still not going to give a shit, but hey, we can hug it out. All right? So, yeah. Now, getting into some of the things is obviously, working for a Gothic clothing company and doing some of the things I do and being into some of the circles that I'm in, those of you know me know I'm a big fan of mixed martial arts, which is quite incidentally, I don't know if he's still sitting out here, there was a UFC fighter sitting out here enjoying family with his family, Jason Brills. He's from Omaha, full-time firefighter, hell of a guy. I've trained with him before. It was just kind of cool coming here and seeing him. But I've run into some interesting circles, to say the least. And working for the Gothic clothing company, and doing some of the leather work, you do run into some of the people, and it's always interesting, when you do work and your customers share with you your feedback. Now, we also make bondage collars. And spike collars, all right? And it's always interesting when some of those customers come back and share feedback with you. The last Samurai show I was at, I had one of our customers come up to us and go, "I bought one of your collars. I absolutely loved it. I was so excited when I got it. My boyfriend, he's out of town. I put it on, and I took off the rest of my clothes, and I Skyped him." And I was thinking right away, I was like, wow, do I need to find an adult right now? Am I okay? And she's like, and of course I feel kind of bad sharing this story because of all the days Rocco brings his 9-year-old daughter, I get to share this story. Okay, thank you. So tonight all the restrictions have been lifted. You can pretty much get away with anything. But might as well ask him for that pony now too. So, so she says, she goes, "So I put on your collar and I took everything off and I Skyped my boyfriend, and he took one look at that and he just couldn't control himself and he went to town right on Skype right there." And it's kind of weird because brutal honesty like that really kind of grows me a big rubbery one. It's kind of you get that awkward feeling where you're watching Nat Geo and you're seeing them lions mate and you're like, I'll just go with it. But it was kind of wonderful because at that moment I was just thinking of all the implications that this thing had. I was just thinking it was at that one moment, I was thinking, when you think about it, I have a better growth and stimulus plan than the president.
More literal, at least.
Yeah, no kidding. Because when you think about it, okay, they supported a small business, and there was growth and stimulation that immediately followed. So I was like, oh wow, hey, cool. And the only other thing that really popped in my mind there, because my mouth goalie, Jesus, had the night off. You'll learn more about my mouth goalie here in just a moment. He's the goalie that separates the thing that comes, so like when you get an idea and it goes to shoot out your mouth, my mouth goalie, Jesus, will sometimes deflect it, you know, and then I can literally say, Jesus saves. And it's...
Your mouth is your five-hole?
What's that?
Does that mean your mouth is your five-hole? Seriously?
Pretty close to the pie hole, too, but anyways. So anything, in that same instance, I was kind of thinking right there, it was like, okay, well, what if this growth and stimulus plan that I devised here, this you know, like getting collars, people buying collars, and you know, being in a better mood and uplifting the economy, I can only imagine like if I presented it to the president and then they bought off on it. You know, can you imagine the presidential figures buying our bondage collars and stuff like that? So the only thing I could really think of is like, what would the presidential safe word be? You know, can't imagine that. You know, Obama's getting tied up by Michelle. She's, you know, got the like leather whip. She's putting cigarettes out on his arms. Would it be like, Bush 43 was the best? No, really, we got to stop. That was getting a little too intense. Would like if Romney got in an office and Ann Romney's got him up on the rack and stuff like that? Would it be like binders full of women? You know, okay, we got to stop. This is just. Yeah, I was going to say that. It's like, can you imagine? I was going to do a reference with Bush and Dick Cheney, but quite frankly, people are eating. So you're welcome. You're welcome. That is just yeah, no kidding. That'd be a waste of beer. So it was just kind of funny. It's like words. Words are a funny thing. And like I mentioned, my mouth goalie, Jesus, you know, sometimes he is really on because, you know, like when my friends use words and stuff like that, it's really cool because, like I said, of my diverse background of friends, each in their own little circles, they have their own little sets of words that they use. Right? We have some very good friends of ours, you know, like James and Alan. They're very, very intellectual, and they'll talk and they'll use cool words like pseudo-intellectual. I'm like, ooh, that's a cool word, pseudo-intellectual.
And bullshit artist.
Yeah, bullshit artist, that is true, but that's an entirely different topic. But you know, so words like that are kind of fascinating, and so like I'll be like I'll see if I can, because I don't know what the fuck they mean. I try to integrate them, and sometimes it doesn't really work out with me. Like you know, one time me and my girlfriend Jessica were out shopping, and I was like, hey Jess, I was gonna impress her. I was like, look at that, that is very pseudo-intellectual. Wouldn't you agree? And I'm thinking, boy, she's gonna think I'm sexy, hot, smart, and she's like, that doesn't mean what I think it means. Yeah, no, you just so. I pretty much, you know, cancel that off and stuff like that because, you know, they use those words and stuff like that, and it's fascinating. And like, you know, they read books with like, you know, Jessica and Dave read all these books, and I tried reading the same books, and they just don't make sense because I don't know what the words mean. I don't know like why you should really vote or anything like that. You know, it's just kind of like one of those things. Like these same books that they read, I have like holding up my furniture. The last one, really, honestly, I hate to say this to us, but I chucked it at the dog because he was licking his balls too loudly. I shit you not, that was an actual case scenario. I'm like, Aries, just, okay, stop it, you're having too much fun, chunk, you know? It was kind of like, there you go. But words, in one of the certain circles where I'm really glad my mouth goalie was on the ball was a few weeks back. I was at an event with some friends, and I saw this couple. I've been friends with them for a while, and they're very Christian. Now, they're not the, hey, let's go and deny gays the right to marry Christians. They're more like the precious moment Christians. You know, they're kind of cute. You know, they put up their little Christmas tree. They go the other stuff. They're very good people. I wanna put this out there. They're very good people. In fact, like if I had kids and something happened to me, I'd want these people to raise my kids. You know, they're good. Their kids are well cared for. Their kids are smart. Their kids probably know what pseudo-intellectual means. You know, it's one of those things. So when I say this, you know, they're good people. And I noticed that the lady of the couple was pregnant again. This is child number 5. And, you know, we're kind of talking about, oh, hey, you know, the kids and stuff like that. And she said something, and she said, the expression was, oh, yeah, you know, funny how things happen. This is God's little surprise. And I am so glad that Jesus was on, because I was going to say something else, but I didn't. I just did the polite thing, like chuckled. It was like, ha, 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 I know it's a little surprise. Well, if you want to make God laugh, make plans. we chuckle at it. What I really wanted to say was, God's a little surprise. He did, in fact, fuck you, right? I mean, this happened. I mean, he took his fleshy little X-Wing, went down your mama's tank trench of a Death Star run, fired off his penile protein torpedo, hit it into that baby thermal exhaust port, and boom, baby Death Star explosion. That did happen, correct? I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise. It should be a simple thing that you learned in school called biology. It happened. To me, to me, a surprise is, hey, by the way, we had sex and now I'm having a microwave. That's a surprise. I'd be like, wow, okay, well, you know, it's going to be handy for the next 18 years until you have to kick it out of the house and make it get a job. I mean, wow. So, you know, it's just kind of, it was one of those things, but luckily my mouth goalie Jesus was there to save the day, divert that, and avoid an awkward situation. But one day where Jesus just decided to throw the game and walk off the field, it was the day that I met my friend Big Scotty. Now, if you guys don't know Big Scotty, okay, take Dave Nesbitt. Take a look at Dave there, all right? Now put about 2 head taller of Dave Nesbitt, keep it bald, give it a full beard, and have it weigh 425 pounds, and still have the ability to head kick you. That's Big Scotty. Big Scotty is the doorman for a few clubs here in town. The reason he's the doorman is because he fits in the door. You're not getting past him, all right? If you were to, as Dave so eloquently put it, he was like, wow, he's the type of guy, if you were to knock him down, you still wouldn't get past the door, all right? So it's kind of a funny story. Like I had mentioned before, I'm into martial arts, right? And so one fateful day where we trained, we were a bunch of basement trainers, and we were a little bit unorthodox. The group that we trained with were like the precursors to the cage fighters. You know what I mean? So we're very elegant and polite and flowery. No, not really. We're like one step away from a broken bottle and a chain and a gang fight. So that's kind of like basically the organization that we came from. So it came around time we had been training really hard, and it was time for us to go to promotions. And promotions was held up in Fremont at a place called Rosenbach Warrior Training Center. If some of you are familiar with Fremont, you may know what it is. See him shaking his head, yes. Well, the old school used to be at the top of a restaurant, all right? This is a little bit important later on when we go in there. So and our promotions were nothing to blink an eye at. You came in, you did your rolling, you did your calisthenics, you did your weapons form, and they threw everything at you. You had to do combat techniques, and you had to know your stuff. Most places have the kind of the McDojo thing, like, hey, I came in, I paid my $100. Oh, you paid your $100. You're a card carrying member. We'll just give you a belt. Our promotions, if you didn't stand up to the test, you didn't get promoted. Good luck. Come back again next time. Next time you better be ready. There was no sympathy with these guys. So we trained hard coming up into this. And I can remember a couple of things as we were at the level of brown belt. And brown belt is really where you really start to prove your pudding, all right? Like, okay, we're going to really see what these guys are made of. That's where the sparring went from, hey, we're going to go easy on you, to I hope you have insurance. So we go up to the promotion. I remember the first thing is like how this day was off is like the head instructor was a guy named James Rosenbach. Everybody referred to him, saw him. Back then he was in his late 40s, all right? And he would still tear through you if you're 18-year-old like you were like warm pat of butter. And Sabin is, for the most clinically word I think is correct, is insane, possibly quite schizophrenic. But he's so dangerous, nobody's going to say anything to him. So basically what it came up is like, I remember going up from a weapons form, and I had practiced with the 3 weapons I was supposed to. Your sword, your half staff, and then your one specialty weapon, which I chose as speed kamas, and they were like these little sickle things, and I practiced really hard. So he decided to change up the game after I did these 3 forms, and I'm exhausted. He comes up to me, "Hey buddy, here's a bow staff. We don't start training with these in 2 more belts. Improvise, make it look good." Walks off. So I kind of knew the night was going to be off that. So after that, just pulling the weapons form out of my ass, we had to go to the next stage, which was sparring. Now, this was the proving ground, as I said before. What they did is they took all the lower ranks, and then they had you fight and spar against the upper ranks, the black belts, the cream of the crop, the echelon. This is like the proving grounds. So they had us line up, and all these black belts come up, and then next thing you know, we see you lumbering out of the ranks, kind of like David and Goliath, is this one guy who's 2 heads taller than everybody else, about 4 shoulders wide. Big Scotty comes walking out, just literally. And pretty much you see everybody part like the Red Sea, all right? Except for some odd reason, I don't know why, but my flight or flight response wasn't working, and Jesus abandoned ship. And I look around, and I notice nobody's coming out to challenge this guy, so I think to myself, well, looks like it's me. So I walk up to this guy, and at this time, soaking wet, I was maybe 145 pounds. So I walk up to this guy, and traditionally in martial arts, you show some respect, you either bow, you shake hands, you say hello, sir, how are you, whatever. I walk up to this 125-pound behemoth, look at his black belt, thump it twice and go, "Black belt, huh? Let's face it, fella, you're just big." I take 2 steps back up, and then they start the match. What was funny, what Big Scotty says this day, what caught him off guard is he goes, usually when a guy my size, 425 pounds, takes on a guy who's 145 pounds, when they first start, the other guy, the smaller guy, usually kind of backs up, you know, does a little dance. I charged right in and happened to hit him right at the knees and took him down. And it went thud. And everybody turned and looked, all right? So when I managed to get on top of him, and while he was scrambling up, he did one mistake and he let his arm up like this. Now, if anybody knows anything, like we've got some judo practitioners here who are not, if anybody knows what a triangle is, I had gotten my legs around his cow beef side body somehow. I think maybe I had it attached by my big toes locking or something like that, and wound up pulling him in a triangle, all right? And so then he rolls over and I cinched it tight, and I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I got him. And I look down and I see his face, his bald dome of a head, start turning from fleshy color to pink to red to purple, and I think, oh yeah, this guy's gonna tap. I did what nobody else could do. I am Jack the Giant Killer. Oh yeah. Hey, these ceiling tiles look awfully close. The next part of the story is brought to you by eyewitnesses' accounts, folklore, and just whatever passings I can get, because honestly, the only thing I remember after that is they were handing my belt. I'll get back to that. What happened is when I took Big Scotty down, I actually kind of wound up injuring his leg, so he couldn't really fully get up. But when we were down, and I was pulling on him, trying to get the leverage, he admitted he was almost out. But what had happened is he was able to get his hand around the back of my head and then get his base. And then he was able to pick me up and slam me down with all his might. People told me when I hit the floor, my arms did the old and Big Scotty kind of looked up like, oh my God, they're never gonna believe this, I just killed him. I'm going to jail. He had slammed me so hard that the people, I remember me telling you that there was a restaurant below us, that the people from the restaurant actually sent people up to check because he had knocked loose some ceiling tiles and it was dropping on customers. So they were making sure that the place wasn't falling apart. So there I am, kind of laying there in that moment of unconsciousness. Everybody has stopped, look. The head instructor's wondering if this is, going to equal a lawsuit for wrongful death or something like that. And in that one moment, I don't know if it was Jesus acting up or what it was, all they said is they saw me unconscious just go like this, we're not finished! And I start fighting them again from the ground. Most people have common sense, usually just kind of, hey, I'm going to take the licking or whatnot. It was described that the next 15 minutes, normally they let the matches go after 3 or 5 minutes, but it was described that the next 15 minutes, it looked like a wet cat trying to get out of a Jell-O mold. I'd move, he'd move me back in, I'd come out, he'd grab me and move me back in, because he couldn't stand it because of, I kind of jacked up his hip. They basically let other matches go on and around about us, and basically they stopped the match. When I said we're a little bit unorthodox, they stopped the match when we had taken off each other's belts and tried choking each other with it. So they're like, all right, we better let this go. So they stand us up, and then basically when I'm coming to, I was supposed to get just my high brown belt. Well, they made a special announcement that night. They were like, out of due diligence or pure stupidity and doing an extra weapons form and surviving, they awarded me my red belt, which is basically 2 away from black. So looking back on that, and I remember on the drive home, I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, that was probably one of the most stupidest and toughest things I ever did. And thank God I'll never see that guy again, probably. So I take the weekend to recover, looking forward to class Tuesday, see what the new stuff we can do. And I go to my friend Mr. Donner's house where we were doing the classes, and I kind of noticed that there was a new vehicle outside, and I'm thinking, oh great, we're gonna get a new student, cool, blah, blah, blah. So we go there, and I walk downstairs, and I notice the basement seems a little bit more full than usual. And I look to my left, and I see Big Scotty there. And he just goes, I was so impressed with you guys, and when I found out you trained in Omaha, I asked Mr. Donor if I can go ahead and train with you. And I was just thinking to myself at that one time, gee, thank you, Jesus. So, kind of just, how are we doing on time here, Dave?
About another 10.
About another 10? I don't know if I have another 10, but, well, maybe I'll fit it pretty close here, but, it's kind of funny when we're talking about this, we're kind of talking about the beginnings of life, how you experience funny things in life, and then now going to kind of transition into things, talking about the end of life. Last Saturday, unfortunately, because I was trying to get things ready for this week through Dominicat, they had a living wake for a dear friend of ours, and she's here right now. Jessica Hurricane of Finley Sofer, and I wasn't able to attend. So if it's okay with you, I would like to read the eulogy that I would like to present it Saturday at her living wake, if that's okay with y'all. So
Go for it.
go for it. All right. All right. My fellow friends, family, and freaks, Today we gather at this first-rate restaurant to recall and celebrate the life of a second-rate Jew. Jessica, Hurricane of Family Sofer. It is often quoted that well-behaved women seldom make history, much less an impression. The family not only left an impression with me, she left scars. Most of them mental. I recall being introduced to the family at Wednesday night cocktails by a mutual friend. In the midst of our introductory conversation, after learning that my company produced Gothic clothing, she remarked, "I need some pretty Gothic clothes because my regular clothes make me look like a dyke." I remember thinking at that moment, "Oh boy, out of all the dainty flowers here, I've seemed to have found the thistle." That was my first encounter with the legendary family bluntness, and I would learn later on why she also had the moniker Hurricane. Upon further events and conversations with the family, I found that her straight-to-the-point forwardness was not due to the fact that she was a Jew, but rather she worked in the 10th circle of hell as a help desk operator.
Government help desk operator.
After hearing of all her trials and tribulations of being assailed by the stupidest people society has to offer day in and day out, I know who I'd place my bets on if I ever heard a newscaster say, "First confirmed death via verbal assault occurred in Omaha, Nebraska today." Details are sketchy, but the victim was said to be looking for his any key on his computer. Working in such conditions, one would definitely need an outlet to release their frustrations. Rather than climb a clock tower with a rifle, a family decided to punish society in her own way by writing a blog. One fateful day, I dared to peek into the psyche of a family and read her blog. Needless to say, that left an impression on me and my psychiatrist. Not only did it have the haunting allure of a raging dumpster fire, it had a raw, unapologetic matter-of-factness that I've only heard listening to certain punk groups. Also, never in my life did I ever think I'd hear the words coitus and shit stain be married in the same sentence, but there you have it. I began to see why the word hurricane applied so well to a family. She would blow right in, cause a lot of collateral damage, traumatize thousands, and the recovery effort would require federal assistance. But you can't paint the full picture of a person by what their job was. It is said, you can often define a person by the company they keep. In the case of a family friends, the only thing I can say is, thank God you died of natural causes. Because if it was a homicide, the budgetary overtime needed to clear your closest friends beyond a reasonable doubt would be enough to collapse a major economy. In fact, it would make what Bane did to Gotham City in Dark Knight Rises look like a children's sock puppet show. Case in point, Mikey Taylor. The man dresses as a zombie clown for fun. What does he dress as when he's angry? Dave Nesbitt seems credible at first. But if you stand around him for longer than 5 minutes, you hear about his exploits in Berlin. In fact, Berlin issued a statement saying that if he ever tells that story again, they're going to build another wall. This time around him. If the Unabomber had a polar opposite, it would be Alan Wiggs. Instead of opening your mailbox and having it explode, you'd be assailed by hipsterific technology jargon and quite possibly a PBR. Then there's Marla Mapes. Don't let the exterior fool you. I'm pretty sure that if she has a body-sized chest freezer in her basement, it has a padlock on it. I was going to bring up Rocco Caniglio, but quite frankly, I don't want to get fucking stabbed tonight, so. I know. I'm taking some cheap shots at a family, but if she was,
It's the only way I roll.
if she was here right now, she'd fire back without missing a beat. And truth be told, 9 out of 10 times I wouldn't be able to match her wit on a comeback. That was one of the traits I most admired about a Finley. She had a tough exterior. She could roll with the punches. Yet, she had the sensitivity to know when she had you beat. I've heard it said, in death, you find out how people feel about you. My regret is that I never got to tell a family how I felt about her when she was alive. Believe it or not, I'm not the best with words. So I'm going to borrow some from the late, great Marlon Brando when he heard of the death of his good friend Tennessee Williams to express what a family meant to me. I always felt that a family and I were compatriots. She told the truth as she perceived it and never turned away from the things that beset or frightened her. We were all diminished by her death. In the times I needed a clear, unadulterated sense of things, I would call family. I would ask for the truth. I would say to her, tell me if I'm full of shit and fooling myself, but this is how I see it. And at times when she would answer, I would get angry, as people often do when they have to face the truth. She would show me where my merits were off base, where the structure of my arguments were weak, and if my convictions were truly strong enough to support the words coming out of my mouth. The force of her resolve to tell the unflinching truth, stand by her convictions, to act in the defense of the community, causes, and people she cared about, the force of what she stood up for the LGBT community, women's rights, or a friend who needed clear guidance, that was the hurricane. It couldn't be categorized by any meteorological scale, but it can only be measured in the way she enriched the human experience for myself and those around her. Though we've laid to rest our friend, Jessica Sofer, we can take solace in the fact that the storm she started, Hurricane of Family, will never subside.
Thank you, Mitchell.
Okay, I know we probably have some minutes left, but really I don't think I can top that. So I'm just going to throw it to Dave.
I'm going to say a few words just so that way that Jess gets the opportunity to transition after that, because that was fucking brilliant. And so I'll be half right and Jess can shine a bit brighter as a result. I was reminded you have a mouth goalie named Jesus. I have a guardian angel that takes smoke breaks, which explains an awful lot.
They must be in the same union.
Yeah, and a judo instructor with a sense of humor and a wide collection of friends. And usually what happens is if I would be there in training, Mike would go, oh look, we have a new big guy. Let's introduce him to Dave, who's the only other big guy in class. And one day he did that to me and said, hi Dave, this is Adam. And Adam walks up, and Adam is my size, but he's like, I'm about 5'9", 240 pounds. But I'm at 240 pounds, and if I shift my diet around and exercise, I get down to about 210. Adam was the 240 pounds that if he shifts his diet around and exercised, he would get down to 235 and look like a statue of Apollo. Yeah. So Adam came walking up and we started working, and he's wearing a white belt. So I'm trying to take it easy on him at first until I realized that Adam is anything but a white belt. He was just wearing it as a matter of consideration because all of his other belts came in different styles, you know, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so we start working and we do this exercise where you throw the guy and then you proceed to put the hold on in midair. And as I'm going, I go to put the hold on, and then he ducks out from underneath me from which is one of the counters, and I immediately reach over the top of him to apply the next part of the hold, and then he reaches on top of me. So picture, if you will, two very large men, both bald, both with goatees, both wearing blue geese, turning into a bowling ball, starting from there and rolling over to there. Sometimes when you're having fun, a little bit of adventure, a little bit of excitement, you forget your surroundings. You know, like there are other students, some of them children. And so we're rolling, and all of a sudden I hear Mike McCoy, who is a 9th degree black belt, who does not have to yell very often, suddenly scream, "Monty!" as hard as he can, which is a good sign that maybe we should stop what we're doing. So we stop, we look up, and I see 2 terrified 8-year-olds looking like, "Oh my God, big blue ball of death!" coming at us. We're like, oh, we totally forgot about that. Yeah, what Mike failed to mention is that Adam was a paratrooper in the Israeli Defense Force.
Oh.
Yeah, he could have brought that up at the time, but he always loved to kind of give me surprises and such and things like that for his own entertainment and see how I would handle it. Now then, surprises, entertainment, things along those lines. Well, she was dead. Heaven didn't want her. Hell was afraid she'd take over. I know it's a cliche line, but goddamn if it ain't true. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Sophia, what we like to call her, Fenway.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to wipe this shit grin off my face. I really don't. Really, the purpose of doing the living wake was for me to be able to say, I never knew. Well done. Before, I wanted to actually talk about that and why I had such a good time with it and why I think that everybody should sometime in their life, memento mori, remember that you will die and kind of take a pulse of things. But Will Ross decided he wanted to participate tonight, so I get to speak in tongues, so to speak. He would like me to bring you a little bit of long-distance Bobby Anderson. For those of you who don't know who Bobby Anderson is, he lives in our own Will Ross's head. He's a smartass, too wise for this world, middle school student from some broken home in Kansas. His massive ADHD may prove terminal as a contributing factor. It's the punch to the skull from anyone in the long line of people he's pissed off that would be the direct cause. In any event, Bobby would like a little of your time. Dear assholes, I can call you assholes because I'm not actually here, I'm speaking through someone else, which makes me functionally immortal, so suck it. Also, boobs, so you're much more likely to donate. Also, I can get a girl to say boobs many, many times. Boobs. I think you should donate to the Red Cross. There's probably a better way to write that, but fuck it if I'm gonna try very hard. I'm not up there on stage, so there's very little risk to me failing here. Boobs. Anyway, the American Red Cross was founded by Clara Barton, who lived from 1821 to 1912, who was a woman. Despite that, she became one of the most hardcore nurses of all time in the Civil War, a war where America won the Guinness World Record in most limbs removed by hacksaw. She was nonplussed. She saw all those things and was like, fuck that, also boobs, but mostly like, fuck that. And in 1973, she decided she wasn't going to fucking take it anymore, and she founded the Red Cross. From that day on, they were like angry ninjas of helping, running all over the globe, just giving shit away like some sort of apolitical Superman. Oh, and she did all that shit before she could vote, am I right? And vaginal pandering. Oh, that was stage direction. Oops. 70,000 disasters later, here we are, saved by Bobby Anderson and his miraculous weather and changing machine. How we marveled as it blew the hurricane across the Atlantic, dropping water on grease to put out fires. Although you don't ever put water on grease fires, Bobby, that's just dumb. And then through Syria, finally landing in Russia, where it released Pussy Riot. And also, I got a girl to say pussy, so this is a pretty good day after all. But in the unlikely scenario that I can't get this entire microwave apart, or that a 700 watt microwave can't actually change the pressure of the atmosphere as well as it could, say, catch fire, you should give the Red Cross some of your money tonight. Besides me, they're our next best hope. Love, Bobby Anderson. I love Bobby Anderson, and I suggested to Will that he really need to have his own Facebook page. So if you see me liking or befriending Bobby in the next, I don't know, week or so. I'll know that suggestion meant something. I'm looking forward to it. In any event, I maybe want to talk about stroking my own ego, and I'm not even going to charge extra for it to let you watch, about why I did a living wake.
So we should be charging you for that.
Damn, man, way to poke holes in my ego like it was some kind of condom, all right? Damn. No, I had decided that my birthday is close to Halloween. I like go big or go home. How can we do something for the 35th? You know, because now I could legally run for president. And that's frightening alone. I've seen who we're voting for this year. I just might. Because I don't know about you, but I like vaginas. I'm not sure they do. Anyway, for my 32nd, I had decided I would really like to do a Saccharin 32 because, you see, I had a Sweet 16, and I just thought that was funny. And then divorce, bankruptcy, and selling the house happened, and that just didn't, I ran out of time. So this year I thought, okay, well, you know, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people who think 35 is old. I mean, you're not supposed to trust anybody over 30, right? So let's thumb our nose at this and have a living wake. And I caught a lot of crap for people quite well. I think I got really good at being a catcher. But I'm ashamed. I got a lot of crap for wanting to do a living wake because 35 is just so young. And I thought, well, it's halfway to 70. Come on now, work with me on this. And I'm young enough to really enjoy it and make it campy. And so I had, knowing that October is a very busy month for parties and that sort of thing, I says, I'm gonna have to get this invitation out early. So about a month before, I says, okay, here's the deal. It's gonna be on this date, we're not sure where, but save the date for me. I wanna have this party. And I asked Dave to help me out, and I asked Adrian to help me out, and I ended up doing most of the goddamn work because I can't leave well enough alone. And thank you for putting up with that instead of telling me, but you told me you wanted me to do it, because
I found the venue.
yeah, you did find the venue. You found a damn good venue. Thank you very much. But I decided, you know, I want to do this because I want to have that chance to take the pulse of things and really get that check of where am I in life. You know, I've just gone through these major changes. I kind of want to make sure I know where I'm at. And so it started. And the Tuesday before the party, I apparently have a wild hair factory because I had one at about 10:30 in the morning, and I said, hey guys, if I did this, would you go along with me? And I had sent Dave and Adrian an email saying, if I suddenly start posting stuff about how I'm not feeling well, just roll with it. And so I began a serial on the blog and on Facebook on how to fake your own death. And thank you. And of course, I'm sure everybody I know had some kind of idea on how the end would happen. And for those of you who don't know, I am a huge fan of Discovery ID, which is pretty much, as a friend of mine calls it, the snuff channel. I fall asleep to the snuff channel. I have a morbid side. Yes, I know it's hard to believe, but just work with me on this. So, and all my obscure scouring of the internet, I found a lot of interesting porn, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I discovered this syndrome called exploding head syndrome. It is not literally where your head explodes, merely it is it's not imaginary, but it happens within the brain. You perceive it to be a ear-splitting sound. So that's what I decided what I was going to have. Because I've always said the inside of my head is a very noisy place. And this is why I am such a very active blogger and Facebook person, because, you know, journals aren't found until after you die, and damn it, I want to give somebody a laugh right along with me, because sometimes what's going on in there is a whole lot of one-act plays. And I kind of like sharing that. And so I decided, okay, here it is, Tuesday, we've got till Saturday, we're going to make this happen. And I started off with just a vague, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to go home. I'm going to let the dog out, I'm going to take some Advil, and I'm just going to have a lazy night. And then it went on to the first attack. And all of this is available if you want to read it word for word. I have it printed, but you know what, that's just not that much fun. And it's 6 pages, and I like you people, so I'm not going to do that to you. But it started off with the first attack where I was outside letting the dog water the lawn, and kabam! The first explosion went off, and I, according to this fiction, hit the deck. And because I live in a blighted neighborhood in Midtown, you know, everybody's out on their porch, they're enjoying the evening, we know each other. And that played into the story of here I am laying face down right next to the dog do, going, what the hell was that? Nobody could hear a thing. It progressed on to that, going to the doctor that evening, having him tell me, you have this weird disease. Then my going home in true fashion, I'm going to research this. And I'm going to pour through it and find out, oh, okay, well, this can be caused by this. This is another symptom of it. You can expect this. WebMD will send me to an early grave, not because I have something, but because I'm a goddamn hypochondriac with a Google plugin. And in my mind this whole time, I'm thinking, how can I make this more enjoyable for everybody else? This isn't necessarily stoking my own ego, but it's how can I get people drawn in for this party? How can I use social media to make this more interesting? And I had this moment where I remembered War of the Worlds. And I remembered thinking, I am not going to be that asshole. I'm playing a game, but not purposefully. So every single post had a disclaimer, don't take me seriously. This is all about the party this weekend. It's totally fake. I don't really have exploding head syndrome. One would think that's a given, but yeah, there's a sucker born every minute, and I'm sometimes that sucker. So I've said before that if you told me I was low on blinker fluid at one time, I probably would have gone looking for it. So, and like Barry says, I have been a help desk person forever and ever. I know the levels of stupidity that exist out there.
Better check up on your mumble variants.
Yes, I should do that. But here's the thing, if I take it into the service center, they'll give me a turbocharged loaner. So I'm okay with playing dumb. I'm just a dumb old girl. So.
Do you remember to get the glow stick batteries?
Yes, yes. But let's see, where were we? Disclaimers. So you can watch it progress, and I did this very purposefully of, this is what happened, I don't know what's going on, I'm doing my research, okay, now I know what's going on, and I'm gonna stick my fingers up at it and work with it, the coping mechanism. And then there was the descent, and that was kind of fun. That was the whole, this is wearing away at me, I don't know what to do, I can't sleep, I'm at wit's end, I'm going to snap. And it was fun to play along with that in an imaginary sense of that descent into madness. And then finally, I had asked Adrian to write up the announcement of my early demise. And the two of us, this is just how twisted this particular relationship is. We sat around going, so how are we going to do it? Oh my God, this is going to be great. So can I say that I have to erase your history and then take an electromagnet to your computers so nobody can tell what porn sites you went to? And I said, hell yeah, you need to do that anyway. Are you kidding? Let's get this in writing. So if you're going to fake your own death, I guess it kind of, it brings up some valid topics to have a discussion with your sweetie about. So, but Friday morning and Thursday, I'm practically giddy with this. I can't wait to do the reveal. And there is something probably pathological about that. I had it set to launch because on my blog you can schedule it to drop at a certain time, and I made sure to make it weird times like 9:07 or 10:52 or something like that, so it didn't look scheduled, because I'm a planner like that. And Friday morning I let this drop at about 6-ish, thereabout, just as I'm getting up ready for bed. But by the time I had lunch, 3 people had gotten suckered into the whole I'm dead business. And I felt a little bit bad, but at the same time I'm thinking, I made sure there was a disclaimer on this. But in the end, what did me in was not the screaming orgasm or the death by cunt punt or whatever you want to say for letting my mouth get me into trouble. And I can't believe I just said that word, because that's on the short list of ones that I'm uncomfortable about. But it was a heart attack from being on edge, that fight or flight for 3 or 4 days. And the adrenaline just was way too much. And it was actually a lot of fun to go through that and play along and bring in the actual mood for the party. And Saturday came around, and the party was at Vivace down in the Old Market. And I don't know if any of you have been in the party room in the back. They have what looks to be a library, and it was just the perfect atmosphere. And this entire time I have been shopping. And as Barry says, I was raised in a Jewish household, and it was a second-rate Jewish household because I liked to put bacon on my bagels. And I am Jewish if it gets me out of class, or if it gets me a gift. So this is why in our house growing up, we had French windows. In this set was the Christmas tree. In this set was the menorah. We celebrated all month long, and it was fantastic. But I decided that just to play it up, I was going to have this long black veil, and I sewed this ball fringe to it. And it was all black, very Victorian morning, very spooky spirit haunting kind of outfit. And we decorated the entire restaurant's back room with red and black tablecloths and photos. And I think the 2 proudest things that I had purchased as decorations was not an actual, but it was a damn convincing urn that we filled with some kind of coarse sand to look like remains, in which people put tips. So really, in the end, I did just get just the tip. We had that, and then a black guest book, and I am so thankful for the people that played along with it. I had several people bring Adrian sympathy cards. I had another friend that in the sympathy card gave him a website, singles.com, and call me later. So
he did get my card.
Yes, he did. So, and we both got a good chuckle out of it. I had people that I hadn't seen in a while. I had my camp counselor from 1989 and 90 and 91 sent me a corsage because she wasn't able to make it, and it was just heartwarming to be able to touch base with people during a faux event where you're gonna be there, kind of, and not really know the coulda, woulda, shouldas. And I'm thinking, there's too often that people wait until they get sick to have one of those moments of coulda, woulda, shoulda. Why? Why are we so afraid to wait until that point? And I'm so glad that I'm friends enough with people who are willing to embrace that and have a good time with it and be honest about it. And the only thing that I can think of was missing was the dissenters, the people who said, you know what, you really kind of hurt my feelings when you did this, because now I could make it up to a person to say, I didn't realize, I didn't know. And I have found there's a lot of that going around recently. And I didn't know. And I've talked about it before that, for example, trading crushes with someone that I knew throughout high school. I didn't know because we both thought we were out of each other's league. And in the end, I just thought that was hilarious and a little bit sad that we only found out about that too late. And so that was the purpose of having a living wake. And I really kind of hope that that's something that other people can not necessarily learn from, but borrow from. I'm happy to be the first weirdo on the block to say, I want to die this weekend. I'd like to be dead this weekend, so people say things about me, to not my face, but to an effigy, so to speak. So that would be how I started the 35th revolution around the sun this year. Borrow if you like. That's all I got.
Before we go to intermission, I have one quick note for Family, and that was that Steve Gray and I were at that gathering. I'm 44, Steve is 64, and we were looking at the family going, oh, 35, you're fucking adorable. And so let's take 10 minutes, do whatever it is that you have to do, and then we'll come back and it's Mr. Rocco Caniglia.